No doubt about it. We are definitely in the dog days of summer. And while we're always looking for ways to cool off ourselves, it's also important to protect our pups as well. Mark Schembor from Canine Corral is here to help us. And as always, Mark, we always look forward to this. You brought us some pictures from Canine Puppy Care, Dog Care.
I did. We have daycare at the Canine Corral. That's Mega. Mega is actually right in front of us, and you'll see that in a second here. Real nice big dog, so that's how he got his name. This is Polo, and that's Stella, and they're actually in a little water bowl, just kind of cooling themselves, just chilling out, relaxing. You know, they're smaller dogs. Now there's Lucy. We had a break in our hose, and Lucy took advantage of it by just kind of chewing at all the water. It was really cool. And let's see here. Oh, there's Lucy and Roxy in one of the pools that we have out. We have pools that we put out and then we take them back in toward the end of the day because that's when they're in the air conditioning. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that they don't go home wet.
Oh yes, I'm sure the owners appreciate that in the seats of their car. Now, since dogs can't really talk to us, how do we tell if they're overheated?
Well, one of the things you want to look for is excessive salivation, really panting, but to the point of gasping, like they're gasping for air. We want to remember that they actually cool themselves by panting. The air goes over their tongue. So you have to be really careful with dogs that have short noses, like the Pugs and the Bostons, because they don't have enough time to cool themselves down. Really important with the smaller breeds. Yes. And it would make sense because a longer nose, longer time to cool down. If you look at their gums, if they're kind of grayish instead of being nice and bright and pink, could be a chance that they have a temperature and their temperature is escalated. And also, and this would go with anything, if they're lethargic, they start to vomit, their body is starting to shut down and it's just a little bit too much for the body. Yeah, and it happens all the time.
Does it?
And especially in Florida. Now, you know, it's not only the heat, it's the humidity, as they always say. And the humidity is what really will hit the dog because of the fact that you've got the heat, then you've got the humidity, so you'll have that index factor.
What about prevention? What are the ways we can prevent this from happening to our dog?
Well, one of the things that Mega is laying on is he's laying on a canine cot or mat. The mat, you put water in it and it absorbs the water, so it actually cools the dog as they're laying on it.
That's awesome.
The thing you want to remember is this is not something that you put in the backyard in the heat of the sun. This is something for on the lanai, maybe inside the house, just so that the dog can feel a little bit cooler.
It would do the reverse if you put it outside, right?
It would heat up.
Okay.
Yeah. There is a canine cot, and the blue part of that cot actually has the gel in it, and you might have heard of the gel that's cooling or it feels good for actual seats, like you know, in offices. That's the same effect, and they're very effective.
Now you have some tips for us on how to prevent our dogs from getting
These are all
overheated.
good. The thing is that you want to make sure that you do short walks. You don't want the walks to be in the heat of the day, so they should be at a time when morning or late afternoon or early evening. The next thing that you want to do is you want to make sure that they get that playtime, and one of the best ways to do playtime, so I can brag a little, is daycare. But make sure that, you know, our daycare is air conditioned, and we do have the outside runs too, but we can control them so in the heat of the day, they're only going to be in the air conditioning. So make sure your dogs are not outside all day at daycare, but it's great for that, get that burst of energy out. Keep them hydrated. In our runs, we have floats on the water bowl, so if a dog digs it all out, it'll fill right back up. So you never have to worry about being out of water, because water is one of the most important things for dogs. And, you know, in the heat of the day, keep them in the air conditioning. If they're at home, don't leave them on the backyard, and always be mindful of where they are in the summertime. It's very important.
I was walking my dog across the road at Venice Beach, just that little stretch of pavement, and he got severe burns on his feet. I'd never thought of that before.
This is the time of year to be mindful of where your dog's paws are. A black pavement, I would say concrete's a little bit cooler, but black pavement, I did a thing, it was 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 141 degrees on the blacktop.
Oh my gosh.
Now, like I said, concrete's a little bit cooler, but don't stand and talk to your friends and their dogs are starting to dance and all that. That's because their paws are hot. And it works for the reverse up north with the ice, but we're not dealing with ice down here. We're dealing with a lot of heat.
Yes, we are.
So be mindful. Walk them on the grass as much as you can, or keep them moving. You don't want their paws to be planted. You know, it's really up to you to make sure that you're mindful of your dog because it's your responsibility as a dog owner.
Suppose you think he's having a problem and going into heat stroke. Is there something you can do right then and there?
Yes, don't overdo it. Seek shade and slow the dog down, or put them in air conditioning, but don't blast the air on them. You can rinse them with a hose with cool water, but one of the things you want to make sure is keep away from the ice that would cool them down too much,
fast?
because that'll restrict their veins.
Oh, interesting.
Another thing is to make sure that you don't cover them. You don't want that sauna effect. And lastly, keep them moving because you want that circulation going. You don't want them to shut down.
Oh, thank you so much. Many things we never thought of before. And for more information about dog supplies, training, plus boarding and daycare, go to caninecorralsrq.com.